All right. So, Spark. Spark Contemporary Art Space has been around for 20 years, as I had mentioned. And it was founded by a number of graduate students in VPA when I was an undergrad, around the time I was an undergrad in the late 90s. I knew them. But my group and my friends went off and started Think and did that project. So we were sort of two entities in Syracuse at that time that late '90s, early 2000s that really kind of got things going in different ways in the sort of independent art scene. And they had a physical place that they could constantly do events at and shows at, and we were always kind of nomadic and bopping around, even though we had some galleries that lasted 6 months or a year, one of them actually 3 years. We weren't the leaseholder indefinitely. We always were on sort of the not-for-profit handshake deal. So anyhow, coming back and running Spark 20 years later is a bit of a trip for me, and you know, I'm sure I'll post the slideshow that I have with gives you a sense of the uses of space and the different people. This is the Instagram account, but it gives you a sense of the posters and the diversity of events and stuff like that. So um, Spark is this thing that if it doesn't evolve, it's going to go away. And unfortunately, one of the biggest challenges is in evolving something that means a lot to so many different people. The minute you put your fingers on it, everybody's, for better or for worse, got an opinion and want to, kind of do things their way or keep it the way it used to be, or don't tinker with it. But the reality is, like, it's not something that is sustainable in its current incarnation. There isn't really a steady community that cares for the space. It's always kind of like a couple years here, a couple years there. So there's not a lot of continuity. Um, you know, Again, financially, it's not very sustainable without a steady source of income. So it's always kind of like right at that threshold of what do we do? Do we put out a fundraiser? Do we throw a party, throw a show to raise money? How do we pay the bills? And I'm sure over the course of years, different people maybe have been involved that have had deeper pockets and maybe helped kind of underwrite some of its costs. But that's really not the case with me, or I don't think with the last group that was there. And so, on one hand, we're trying to enhance the space, make it more appealing to more people, diversify the programming, get more things going on, have more hours of operation, more sort of elements in there that people can utilize. And then, of course, the food and beverage really helps to keep people satisfied. And it's those under $10 purchases that people normally make when they're hungry or thirsty or want to hang out that would really help subsidize the work that we're doing. So, that all being said, we're sort of at this crossroads, and where we want to take Spark is from, this organization or this entity that's been again very volunteer based but kind of haphazardly organized to something that is sort of like a force to be reckoned with. And if you look at this is our homepage here. That Instagram account has thousands of followers. This account, wherever that statistic is, has thousands of followers as well. And Where does it say that? Community. Here we go. 3,041. And then this is a group we created recently, kind of a private, closed group, not to keep people out, but to keep kind of inner dialogue, inner conversation from like the whole. So not everybody's bombarded with it. So we invited people to opt in, and within a week or two of this group, we've got over 71 members. We have a membership meeting coming up on Sunday. We had a intro ownership discussion, kind of a meetup last Sunday, which was well attended. We had a fairly successful. I know we picked a huge goal, but we had 105 backers for a crowdfund campaign we did last spring to just sort of like help people, get involved and kind of kick it into gear when we were getting involved with no capital whatsoever. So this really helped provide some bridge financing for us. And just quickly as an aside, Spark isn't just what happens in the four walls of it or potentially on its grounds, but it has the potential to do more. And one of the things that we did is launched a public arts campaign as part of Spark, and got involved and went before the city and challenged ourselves to paint 12 murals or have 12 pieces of public art done in 12 weeks. Although we didn't meet our goal, we did get 8 qualified or 9 qualified, excuse me, to paint. And when the weather breaks, we'll get back out there. But it's just the beginning. We just launched it. We got some good, sort of motivation for spring and summer 2019. But it's just really, just sort of an indication of a community around a space that's willing to sort of respond and come and spring into action and make a difference. So, where does this all leave us? Well, again, Spark, from an operations standpoint, we're really pitching as a membership-based model. So, not to say non-members can't use it, but it's really meant to develop community and provide incentives for people using it on a regular basis, for having some levels of stewardship and ownership, making decisions around what type of events happen there, how frequently, during what times, potentially even also the pool of staff that would come to run the cafe would come from members. They would get to, basically, because they're connected now, get to know what each other are doing. So maybe some, sort of cross-pollination starts happening. And then discounts, the vision really is about having these perks of membership where people, because they're utilizing it on a regular basis or patronizing, sponsoring, are getting perks and discounts and breaks, and allowing for them to feel like they're really being honored for their participation. And then the other thing that really looks like, I'll scroll through the rest of this so you can go back and pause, is this idea of a master calendar. And I know it's kind of simple thinking, but at the end of the day, Spark, like a lot of DIY spaces, is usually just like a room to rent. So it's like whatever's happening is because somebody called in and said, I want to do a thing, and they do a thing, and sometimes they promote it, sometimes they don't. Sometimes it's just for friends, sometimes it's for the whole community, sometimes it's free, sometimes you charge money, sometimes it's music, sometimes it's a film, sometimes it's an art gallery show, sometimes it's a poetry reading, sometimes it's a writer's workshop. So the thing about Spark, what I've learned it now that I come back, and I would have, I had the hunch, but I've heard directly from people, is they don't never quite know what's going on, or they don't know how to get involved, or they don't know how much it costs, they don't know blah, 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 blah. There's a lot of not knowing. So what I'm trying to do have a ownership group that's willing to put investment in stabilizing the space and getting it up and running, from a permit, from a fee, association with entertainment licenses, costs associated with putting the cafe in, to having a membership body that's doing the operations of the facility, to really looking at ways in which this facility could become a model for others, and so we can kind of create one and then replicate. So just as an example, if you go kind of across the board and up and down here, the idea would be to really kind of break off different uses, and this is just for evenings in the showroom. So we have daytimes in the facility, we have the movement room, we have the cafe lounge. So this is just our showroom, and what we would like to do is sort of design it so everybody knows exactly when their plug-in time is, when their things of interest might be, so they can put it on their calendar, think ahead of time how they want to participate, if they want to teach, if they want to showcase, if they want to get involved in a way beyond just showing up. But also, load this in a way that when you get to Fridays and Saturdays, for example, it makes more sense to have live music, nightlife, those types of kind of large group, maybe louder events. And then as you get back into the meat of the week, it's more unplugged singer-songwriter concepts, visual arts, crafts, and fashion concepts, words, poetry, literary, prose, film, video, alt media. And again, so this is really kind of we're leading towards getting Spark organized in this manner, and we truly think that at the end of the day, um, we're onto a good thing. So the Patreon, again, this is sort of maybe towards the end of the last video that I'm going to make before I get into what to do next, like where do we go from here. This was all a bunch of videos backloading to bring you to today. And, we're in the middle of winter. It's mid-January. We have an opportunity with a lull in programming and sort of in this transitional period to go in and do the redevelopment work, potentially acquire the property, and relaunch Spark in the spring. So that's really where I'm at right now. And then as it relates to Crystal City, this would really be our first project together as Crystal City to invest in and work through. And then the sky's the limit. We really take it from there. So thank you all for listening and bearing with me. I don't know how much of this you're going to absorb, but it's been cathartic for me to get it out of my system and share. And as I plug this into the Patreon and share it around with everybody else and try to gauge interest, I want to say that I really appreciate the attention put. It's hard, I think, for me at least, to speak about myself and promote the things I'm doing, because it sounds sort of focused on me. But I hope what you've learned through these videos is that I'm really trying to put my best foot forward for the greater good of all. And there's different tools in my tool belt that I can do that with. So thanks again, and I look forward to making the next series of videos soon.